Okay guys, well I thought I'd do another Ragnarök Cometh update since we are seeing some more severe weather events around the planet. And so before we do have a look at all of these events that are taking place, let's just look at the data and we can see that the X-ray flux has somewhat flatlined, but that's actually also to be expected because this is also connected to these extreme drops in temperature when we see minimal activity in the X-ray flux and the solar activity. This is also what is connected to ice ages and why they can see that there's a correlation between solar activity and ice ages. And so this is to be expected as we're moving towards Ragnarök, because as I have said, even though we'll be having these extremes in the severe weather on both polarities of the southern hemisphere and the northern hemisphere with the cold, it will gradually just move to a colder climate and a colder time of the cycle on the planet. So this is where we will continue to move as we move towards Ragnarök, and probably because we are at the end of the cycle, this may be even more severe than previous ice ages that they can actually look at, like the Mjolnir minimum and the effects that that had on society at the time. And we also have to understand that in the times where the ice age has occurred and society has had to adapt, they were not reliant on Big Brother like society is now. They were not reliant on technology, and they could still think for themselves, because this is the difference with modern man. He's handed his brain over to Big Brother, and Big Brother does all his thinking, and all he has to do is follow his sacrum around, okay, and just indulge in whatever he wants, and Big Brother thinks for him. And so unfortunately these people are going into the ditch when all of the delusion and illusion of Big Brother crumbles and their world crumbles with it, because they can no longer think for themselves. And so my videos are for people that can still think for themselves and have independent thought. And I'm really not joking when I say that these people cannot have an independent thought of their own. They really cannot, okay? Go out and experiment. Go out and observe. You will see they cannot have an independent thought of their own. They must follow what the party line is, what the storyline is that all of the other sheep, slaves, are following. And they will not err from that at all. And so they're heading for that broken out bridge, because they've just got no clue, and they don't realise that the Big Brother that was driving the train jumped off, because he knows that the cliff's there and that the bridge was broken out. So he's jumped off. He's paid some people out to catch him, and he's just standing there now laughing at everyone in the train, going towards the cliff, thinking the bridge is there. They're all on their iPads and iPhones, completely oblivious to their environment and surroundings and their connection. They've completely removed their connection from the environment. Actually bought the lie that the environment is completely stable now that modern man's here. None of these are previous events that we can see in history. Dinosaurs going extinct, civilizations just mysteriously falling. Oh, that's never going to happen again now. Modern man's in control. Sorry, because modern man's God, and modern man completely controls his surroundings. Failed you did. If you believe that, failed you did. Because you are under the influence of larger forces, larger governing forces. You are just an extension of larger governing forces. And yes, you do have some amount of free will, but you still have larger influences that you have to factor into your experience. Just like all living things have to factor in something else to their experience, so do humankind. We aren't just the top of the food chain with nothing to worry about, because we are accountable for our soul. And so those that have worked that out, seen through the delusion and the illusion, and basically found who they are once again, and found the truth once again, and what Rome is hiding, and that is that the greatness is within mankind, and that there are a divine race within mankind that are also connected to the energy and the incoming energy. And that's the big secret that they lock up under the Vatican, and why the Vatican have the best observatory in the world, and why the Vatican was so interested in the particle counter that they put up on the ISS in 2011. And yes, I have done videos about that, where the Vatican were doing a teleconference, video conference with the astronauts after they put the wave particle counter up there. So what are they counting? What are they measuring that's incoming? Well, it's certainly not something that they're telling everybody else about, because they know what they are measuring and what all of these changes are actually bringing in and actually equated to, but they're not going to tell anybody else because they want to keep control as long as they can. And so we will just continue to be dragged along with the bullshit until it all just goes to complete shit. And that is nearing. And so until that happens, and we still have access to technology and the grids are still intact, we can do our best to try and make these connections ourselves and see where we are, see where we're at, see how fucked we are. And so by doing that, we're, in a better position to best prepare for what approacheth. So we've seen the X-ray flux flatline. We have had a gamma ray burst from Hercules as well on the 13th, so we've had quite a lot of cosmic ray energy that's also influencing everything. And we are seeing some bigger earthquakes, because we're getting earthquakes in places where we have not seen them so much before. I have noticed this over the last 3 days. We are having some unusual earthquakes, and they are all around the 5 and 6, and we have had one in Queensland, in Australia, southwest of Bundaberg. They felt it, and not only did we have one, we had two. Okay, there were actually two. So I will leave this article underneath, but yes, we've had two earthquakes in Australia. So interesting. We are seeing that since the solar activity has started to quieten over the last 3 days, 2 days, we have seen an increase in the strength of some of these earthquakes, and they are in actually, places that they haven't really been observed before. So, what else have we had happen? Australia is also reporting strange activity with the fish. They're no longer where they should be. They're not schooling where they should be. Okay, they try and bring it down to their testing for seismic, seismic testing for the oil rigs. No. Okay, just like the fracking, and they try and cover the earthquakes. I'm not saying that they're doing any favours to Mother Earth, and that might not add to some of these events, but they certainly aren't the cause of it. And just like these fish are acting differently, is because they are reacting to their environment, and their environment is changing and shifting. And so this is where we actually watch the wildlife, and we take their cues, and we learn from them and observe their activity, because they understand the environment like the oceans a lot better than humans. And so birds and fish, you should actually watch their behaviour. It's very telling of your environment and of what is approaching. We're also seeing a lot of deep fish species being washed up, rare species washed up that people have never seen or are rarely seen. Some of them have myths attached to them, and this is because the people know that when you do start seeing these deeper fish being affected by their environment, that means change is coming, and this is why they knew they were harbingers, because they were significant of the change. You know, they were signifying the change in the ocean. That meant something was approaching. And so this is why we take our cues from the ancients and stop being arrogant and thinking we're better than them and smarter than them, and we just actually learn from them. And so obviously seeing that the fish are now acting strangely is just more confirmation that, yeah, we are seeing these big changes, and we will continue to see them. And so don't be surprised if even the whole fish, you know, ecosystem ends up collapsing. Okay, it's going to be a lot of problems with the fish and the birds, but the fish, you know, because really out there people want to just live in denial that it's all plastic. Okay, even when you can't see it, it's plastic and it's just toxic. All of it, it's poisoned. So that's the other factor that we've also got to address when we're seeing these, you know, reports of strange activity as well, is that there could be other environmental influences that are pushing them out of certain areas. But for one thing that we do know, there is definite big change there. So keep an eye on that one. Possible cyclone for Queensland. They're saying it could go down the coast. Okay, so southeast Queensland, I'm still saying to you guys, you are so due. You are so due. They're saying possible for far north, but the track was showing it would go south. And I'm just looking at the models, and I keep seeing that same pattern. And this is why you flooded a couple of years ago, because this pattern has been starting to be created. And so I wouldn't be surprised if there's another big Brizzy floods. I mean, don't rule it out. Okay, if one of these cyclones comes down and sits off the coast there, you are fucked down in Brisbane. And same with you on the Gold Coast. I mean, you guys have got no, you know, protection against any huge cyclones that come through there. You will just be fucked up when there's a huge tidal surge comes through the Gold Coast. Seriously, because you have had such a stable environment there for so long, you really have moved into a state of complacency. And so, yeah, I think that's really going to bite some people in the arse down around southeast Queensland. So be prepared for any of these cyclones to move south. Okay, I do think that far north Queensland, we will probably get our cyclone too, but I just see the models continuing to show they like to go south now. They like to go down that track. So heads up for that one. Oh yeah, lots of snow. Look at this, snow everywhere. Okay, they can't get rid of it. There's too much of it now. Just keeps continuing. It doesn't go away. And this is exactly what I was saying. It's just not that these events are, you know, something that has happened 100 years ago and so everyone dismisses it, but it's just that these events keep happening continuously, and they will keep happening continuously until people understand that this is not going to change. It is just going to continue. I'm sorry to tell you, you've never lived in a stable environment, and you've just been sucked into this false belief that you have, because we have had a relatively stable space environment for a few hundred years. And even there have been scientists that have said that, of how lucky it has worked in the favour of modern man that we just happen to have actually existed through a very quiet time. And now we are starting to move back into change again. Something that the earth is used to. Something that the species on the earth are used to, except humans, because we've given our brains over to Big Brother. They know what's best. And so people better hope that they do know what's best, because if you're leaving your welfare in the hands of Big Brother, well, good luck, because eventually they are not going to be able to keep up with these events, and they're even having trouble now. They cannot keep up with the events, even now getting rid of all the snow. Oh, this is a hailstorm that happened in Ecuador. I mean, look at that. Again. Just over and over again we're seeing these severe events. I mean, this is insane. In South America. I mean, it just looks like there's been a deluge of snow, but it's hail, and it's just an insane amount because we're having these microbursts. And this is where people are going to get caught out, because microburst is just an extreme amount of water just concentrated in an area for a short amount of time, and it just causes massive flooding and people get caught out. Now this is interesting. Mississippi River Delta losing football field per week. I was not aware of this, but this is very significant. Okay, over the last 80 years, most of it sunk into the sea. It's the largest changes they've seen. Okay, because it's changing. It's all just going to be sucked in there eventually, and matter is just breaking down, and yeah, that's just how everything changes. It's just part of the change of our existence on creation. It's just all a natural occurrence, but we've just been sucked in to think that the system they've created is our reality and it never changes, and we're just all going to be paying bills till we die forever and ever and ever. And evil will just be in power forever and ever and ever. And people have just believed that that's the truth. Oh, they just can't see that that's not going to happen. And the laws of the universe just will not on any level sustain that. So no, this is what we're seeing now, moving towards this huge change once again. And those that are in power now are soon going to be shaken from their foundations. Again, another blizzard. Northeast, again, experiencing record snows. Still haven't really dug out of the last one. Now they've got more. Again, it's going to continue. It's just going to keep getting severer. Hundreds of flights cancelled as extreme cold weather warning remains in effect. Toronto, okay, minus 25 Celsius, coldest day of the year so far in 2015. Continuing. Okay, now this I just wanted to finish with, because again, we're going to see massive changes starting to happen, and they're going to try and blame HAARP and all of this geoengineering on these changes we see, these strange anomalies we see in the atmosphere and the clouds, because the clouds do react to the cosmic ray activity and the solar activity. This is why we're seeing the different shapes, because it affects the actual crystals, the shape of the crystals, and that affects the shape of the clouds. And we're going to continue to see all these changes. And so they want to have people confused into thinking that it's mankind. And remember, men love to think they're God. They love to think they're God and they can change the climate of Mother Earth, and they're that good. And really, man, you are not that good. I'm sick of having to tell you. You are not that good. Your technology is not that good. You haven't been to the moon. You aren't going to colonize Mars. You only have your technology in Hollywood. You do not have Star Trek spaceships being able to take you into other galaxies, and space exploration is a possibility for you. No, that's just a complete fallacy sold to you by the Antichrist to trick you into going down the wrong path, and that you could really think that you were that good and you were God and you were gods. And they brought in science to confirm that for them, because they branched off. That's why your Big Bang physics was created by a Catholic priest, because science is also a Catholic institute. Okay, all of the universities, go and have a look at where they were founded and who founded them. They're all based on religion, okay? They never stopped being based on religion, even the program they're running. All based on religious beliefs. So, anyone that's foolish enough to think that you can go and get an education from the government, then really you are just still partaking in the mass delusion, because that is not factual. That is just Rome providing another storyline for those that could not be brainwashed through religion. They have a story for everybody. And science also created never-ending theories, never-ending equations, okay, when it's really all quite simple, and the universe is electric. Everything's electromagnetic. And once you actually apply those actual principles to everything, suddenly it all makes sense. You don't have any problems with your theories. Isn't that interesting? But still they will not accept the electric universe theory. They have to continue on with their Catholic Big Bang physics theory. No, that's the one, because the white coats say it is. All of their magical theories say it is, and their equations, look. And so if people have been sucked into that, well then good luck. But no, you are part of your Creator's experience. You are part of God. If you want to deny that, you are a fool. I have nothing to say to you. All I can do is laugh at you. I don't tell you these things because I think them. I tell you because the information is showing them. That is why I can laugh at you, and laugh at you freely I will. And people can continue to put all of this worth in mankind and think they're gods and think that they can create all of this weapons, and we all should be fearful. And that's fine. But really, that's exactly what they want you to think. Just like people don't understand that the New World Order is already in place, and that China and Russia and Europe and the UK and Australia and the USA and, you know, all of those smaller Asian countries are all part of the New World Order. I mean, basically all they had to take out was Iraq, Libya, Syria's already under control, New World Order as well, and the last of all was North Korea. So they've got rid of North Korea. That was their last man standing. They're in full control now. You know, you guys don't even understand that. I mean, they've still brainwashed you to believe that they're actually fighting against each other, and they're really, you know, Putin hates, you know, Obama, and, you know, he's got something to say, and then Abbott's got something to say to Putin and shirt front him. Yet they're all doing the G20 together, and they're all going and shaking hands and laughing together, and going and discussing and having meetings. Does that really look like people that are enemies? You know, would they do that? Would they allow, you know, their enemies to just, you know, partake in war games as they're doing, and allow them to train up in, you know, areas where, you know, they should be considered a threat, and then the next minute they're shaking hands and smiling? I mean, it's a big act. It's a big act. And anyone sucked into it, really, you've got to snap out of it. It's a big act, okay? All of the political sides, they're not fighting against each other. It's an act. They've just given us two different sides of the same coin, basically. It hasn't changed. It's just you get the perception of changing your masters. But look back, whenever you voted for another party, nothing changes. We're still slaves. It's still the same system. And they're still enslaving us. So, seriously, you have to identify the enemy. And that's the system, and that's all of them. That's government, that's the church, that's the Antichrist. It's any of them that are governing us now, that do not want our best interests at heart. They are not here for Mother Earth's best interests. They are here to destroy her, and they are here to destroy us. And so you either identify that and understand that, and then you can actually be effective because you're actually coming from a place of truth, or you can wander around in the dark and, you know, listen to someone over here and listen to someone over there, and maybe, you know, have a bit of a, what, you know, it may be, or it might be something else, but that sounds okay for now. I mean, seriously, now's the time that you really have to start understanding that they are enacting all of what they've been coming together for the last few years and doing. Okay, because they're seeing all of these changes. They're seeing them starting to accelerate. And so they are moving, and this is why we're seeing an uptick in all of their fuckery, especially all their false flags. And now when we see these big events like these intense hailstorms, this earthquake in Australia, and then the blizzard conditions and Toronto, you can bet that they're also looking at those indicators of the weather and how severe it's getting as to what part of the cycle we're in and what they are going to do with their script. Because their script's already there. It's just a matter of timing for them, and they time everything to this stuff. This is why they want us thinking it's them, okay? It's not them. Now, I'm not saying that they don't mitigate this, but that's what they do. They mitigate it, okay? They do use geoengineering. When we have some solar energy hits or some cosmic ray hits, you'll normally see them spraying chemtrails, and then they use the atmosphere heaters, the HARP heater when they were using it, which they don't even use it anymore. So anyone saying HARP, well, it's not even in operation as far as I can tell with any of the available data. But basically they are just using this to warm the ionosphere and, if anything, spread the chemtrails more effectively. Okay, that's what they're using their geoengineering for, what they're capable of doing, okay, changing it on that level, okay. They're not that fucking good, all right. I know you want to believe that they can cause earthquakes everywhere and, you know, control the sun, some of you have even told me, but no, okay, no, men aren't that good. All they can do is chemtrail, okay, and then just, you know, try and make that chemtrail just, you know, engulf our atmosphere and our rays that are coming in and reflect them back too. You know, that's what they want. It's a blocker. So they want to reflect them back. They don't want these rays. And this is because they want a slow death. Okay, they don't want these big changes. They do want to kill us slowly. All right, they want to kill us slowly, not quickly, not with big freaking earthquakes coming and huge tsunami wave that wipes out, you know, 3 cities that cost them billions of dollars, interrupts transport and all of this other crap, you know, that's their system. No, they can't handle too much of that because their system is actually not very strong. It's quite fragile, you know. It won't take a lot to bring it down. That's why they say Rome fell in a day, because it really does fall in a day. And this is what's happening now. They're just able to keep some control because the earth changes aren't at a level where they're causing massive wipeout of human life. But that's going to change because we just are going to continue seeing these events accelerate. And there will be that huge big shifting event coming soon too, that big tsunami that wipes out a few cities. Okay, that's coming as well, and they know. They know that's coming. So expect them to start getting more insane, a few more false flags. I'm definitely seeing something for Easter, you know, with just the way these false flags are rolling out almost daily now. They're definitely going to be, yeah, definitely going to be not putting Easter to waste. But anyway, this geoengineering stuff, okay, I'm sorry to tell you, they're not that good. They're not changing the climate. They're just mitigating. They do not want to destabilise anything too much because they want to keep control. This is also the other problem that these people that have this theory that it's all HAARP and it's all the government trying to depopulate and kill everybody, is that, well, if they did that, then, you know, why are we still here? You know, like, why aren't they doing this? If they could depopulate and use this, you know, weaponized weather, why haven't they done it? And wouldn't you think that if they do that and it wipes out a whole heap of places and all of their, you know, government falls because they can't actually run anything, then how is that logical they would want to do that to themselves? You know, that they would want to wipe themselves out. I mean, it doesn't make sense. What makes sense is that they want to kill the earth slowly. Kill us slowly, like frogs in the boiling water. They don't want us to know. They'll just poison the atmosphere. You know, they'll just keep doing, you know, what they can in a way that we don't know how, you know, negative it is to us and our environment. I mean, to think that all of these nuclear reactors are perfect and not leaking and no problems, I mean, this is just another delusion again people fall into when none of these reactors have been upgraded in the whole time they've been pretty much in existence, 50 years, and these radioactive particles wear on the surrounding environment. They do wear on the material, and they do need to be upgraded. And so you can imagine that there's leaking going on out there that they're not telling people. Okay, but because it's in the atmosphere and you can't see it, and it's not an immediate death, it's a slow death, you know, and in 10 years' time you'll just get cancer and die, you know, and nobody will ever connect it. And now that's like their latest study about cancer coming out saying, oh, well, you're just unlucky. I mean, that's the newest research about cancer. It's got nothing to do with genetics. You're just unlucky if you get it. Just unlucky. So they can change their story at any time because they don't have truth, okay? If you have truth, you don't need to worry about that stuff because you just keep with what the information and the truth is showing. And when you don't deviate from that, you can't go wrong. That's what I do, and that's what I plan on, you know, doing and continuing to do. So I'll leave it all there, guys. I will link all of those articles underneath and you can check them out more for yourself. And as always, peace out.